Three, two, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Global Citizens. My name is Calvin. I am the show's host, and I am, of course, its founder. So, my guest for today is actually one of the last two for 2020, and she's actually somebody who I've been wanting to invite for a very long time. However, at that time, because I was still quite new to start this one, and two, I was not sure whether I am not trying to assume because of her surname. Thank God, actually, I was vindicated in a sense is because her daughter actually created a YouTube video that explained her entire family tree. So, so without further ado, please allow me to welcome our guest for today. So her name is Miss Leza Klenk. Leza is an award-winning entrepreneur, an early-stage investor, and a personal branding coach who is currently the CEO of a beauty tech company operating in more than 10 countries. She is a sought after speaker and has spoken at more than 100 events on entrepreneurship, trade equity, financing, and personal branding in more than 6 countries. And at the age of 28, she won the title of Singapore Youngest Business Guru. And her story is featured in a publication, The Lady Boss, which is available in bookstores. And along with that, she has acquired a lot more other awards and a lot more accomplishments. So, without further ado, please allow me to welcome Miss Leza Klenk. Leza, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today.
All right. I hope I did enough justice for your introduction. Yeah. Do let me know if I miss out anything.
Definitely, it sounds like I did a lot. I'm thinking, wow, that's quite a fair bit, but it's a good thing.
It is. It is. Of course, this is what you know when you are success. You're being humble. So let's carry on, shall we?
Really, yes.
All right. So this is a question I like to ask all entrepreneurs actually, and it's something that I think is if let's say for a person who is a new startup, maybe it's something for them to know. So, in this day and age, though, how would you rank these in terms of priority? So, money, knowledge, and empathy. And maybe you can apply this in both business and in life too.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, firstly, right, empathy would rank number one. Obviously, because empathy is how we consider other people's predicament, problems in society, and wanting to do something about it. And when you develop the desire to create an impact, to create a solution, to solve other problems in society or for yourself, you start to delve into knowledge, which comes second. Because of course, to get things done, to come up with solutions, you need a base foundation on how things are, going and how you can solve it. And once you
Correct.
get the knowledge you need, you impact other people, especially building businesses. Some businesses now should focus on creating long-term meaning to people's lives. That's how you can sustain your company for a very long time. And lastly comes money, but actually money doesn't even have to sit on the priority list. To be honest, right, I always believe hard work will always reap rewards. So your reward will come in time. Money is just a positive byproduct. It is almost guaranteed if you're doing stuff that can help solve other people's problems. But to solve other people's problems, start with being empathy first, on what their problems really are, then finding out, get the knowledge to solve that problem. And then lastly, just sit back and relax. And with your solution, definitely people will be paying you for your expertise, or people will be rewarding you because of what you developed that helped them in ways. So that's how I rank first. Number one, empathy. Number two, knowledge. And number three, money. Positive byproduct. It will come in time.
All right. So, in a sense, I think we can also add on is that when you give the right value to the people, then the right reward will come. Is that okay for me to say it? Or do you feel that there's anything
From
to
the right people. Exactly. So the right value to the right community of people who need that value, and they definitely will give you the right reward for the effort they appreciate.
All right. Okay, so for those who is tuning in for to the show for the very first time, so Global Citizens is an online live stream whereby I invite individuals who have experienced a multicultural lifestyle. So primarily, the show advocated third culture kids. So basically, like myself, I grew up in Singapore most of my life. I'm a Chinese Indonesian, and when I came back, there's a lot of culture shock that I do not understand. So there are those who have experienced this lifestyle multiple time over, and it kind of gave them a lot of identity crisis. That's one. Along with that, I also want to represent the point of view for those who have experienced this multicultural lifestyle, such as an expat, a digital nomad, or any other of those sorts. Is because I want people to understand that this lifestyle is not exactly an extended vacation. It is a life that we start all over again. It is where we have to break our comfort zone multiple times over. And well, this is something that I hope people are more sensitive about. So on that note, okay. So as I mentioned, I already wanted to invite Lisa for quite a while, but the thing is I wasn't sure at that time until I actually watched her daughter's YouTube video, whereby I actually know more about her family lifestyle, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be really, really confusing in a sense for her growing up. And for Lisa herself, she actually runs her company remotely. So, Lisa, maybe if you don't mind, you can tell us a little bit more about your family tree. I hope I have enough time.
Yeah, well, before I mean, okay, my parents and everything is pretty standard. So I'm from a Malay, no, ethnicity. So I was born and raised here. But for my generation and after, is a little bit mixed up. So as you can probably tell from my daughter's YouTube, obviously she tells everything on her animated video.
Yeah.
That she herself and her brothers are all half Australians. So they are also citizenship of Australia and Singapore because obviously my first husband is Australian. And then now they are raised in Singapore, so which means they're open to culture here, going to school locally. So they're integrating with local kids over here from the Malay, Chinese, community. So it's also a different kind of exposure. And they recently start school, so they were homeschooled for 10 years. So they only start school, so they just integrate into the local community over here. So they don't speak any other language yet, but I think in time, couple of years, they start to pick up the local language from other languages. And then I recently got married a couple of years ago as well. So my husband is German, so there's also some German influence. Especially there's a chance that we migrate to Germany in the future. So it will even again cross culture into another community in Germany. But at the same time, so my children have step siblings because their father remarried to Malaysian. So
Oh
their step
wow.
siblings are Malaysians. So therefore, that's another cross culture. So my kids are exposed to basically European, New Zealand, and Australian, Malaysian, Singapore, consisting of those three main cultures here. So they are, I don't know, I think they're comfortable with themselves, but they're just, because they just break out into the world after homeschool for so long. So they just really see this with an open eye. And I don't think, and people know about it, and people ask them questions, what's your race, or what's your religion, or what's your culture? And the kids can't seem to find an exact answer to explain themselves, and I don't blame them. Okay, once somebody asks them, like, are you Malay? And they go like, no, I'm Singaporean. So they don't, and the youngest one, I don't think he can explain himself at the moment. So I'm still trying to make sure that they don't really get lost with their self identity. But I don't think they will grow all three as the same claim to a certain identity. So somebody might feel he's more Caucasian, somebody might feel he's more Asian, somebody might feel that he's more European. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, don't worry. It doesn't get easier over time, though. Honestly, my in my show, the record of the number of country a person has lived is 12. So can you imagine growing up in 12 countries and then when asked where are you from, and it's like um somewhere my passport country or where I grew up in. So yeah, don't worry. Well, it doesn't get easier over time, but at the same time, they are gonna get more comfortable with it. I've experienced this so many times, and in a sense, actually, the lifestyle that you have implemented and their cross-cultural background is going to give them a vast advantage in life. Is because they don't represent one point of view. And I really love the style this that you actually homeschooled them for the first 10 years before actually integrating them in a Singapore society. This is a really groundbreaking thing that I've never heard of, is because you separate them from the system until they develop a certain level of awareness and maturity, then you actually integrate them. So this is something that I think we definitely have to explore a lot more.
Uh,
What
yeah,
sorry
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, how did you come to this decision at first though? Because this is something that I think people within the community that I advocated that they actually can learn a little bit more of.
Yeah, okay. So actually, I when I had children, I read a few articles, okay, about the benefits of homeschooling and whatnot. And I realized that some of the articles that I read, which I believe, it says that especially in the first 7 to 10 years of a children's life, actually their character is being developed, base foundation of who they will become. So if they are not confident or they have low self-esteem, that's exactly when during their adolescent years they can get influenced easily into negative things. But if they're a confident child, they know where they come from, they know what they represent, they believe in certain values and they carry those morals, then they won't be affected by what tempt or influence them at a later age. So I wanted to inculcate certain values in them, okay, that they are enough, that they should be confident, that there's nothing wrong with them. And and they're learning good languages, they are stable in their academic performance, and they are bold to try new things without somebody put down their dreams. So as a parent, as you know, when we homeschool, we always tell our children to do their best, chase their dreams, and don't have any negative words that we say to pull them down. But in school, I was worried that if when they wanted to try something, somebody might say anything that, for example, affected them and demotivate them to actually pursue something bold. And that's how I raised them for about 10 years at home. And then actually for the eldest, it was 12 years at home. So after that, we integrate them with school only last year, October last year, 1 month, and this year, the whole full year. And they integrate so beautifully. They were not affected by anything at school. They are confident and they do really well because of high self-esteem, which was developed at home. And in any case, even if they are not happy with anything at school, they always know that, okay, I can always tell my mother because she's always there for me for the last 10 years. So she's open to hear every, issue that I might face in school. So I think I like that arrangement, but Singapore is mandatory education. So at some point, you have to go back to school, finish national exam, and then of course go on to university. But I enjoyed it, and then if I think that I will have more children in the future, Kelvin, I would like to still homeschool those children until 10 years old, and then I integrate them into school. And it's easier, trust me, they have less problems integrating compared to when they were 7 years old, when they were timid and they're low self-esteem, and they enter school at 7, still around strangers. But now my kids are confident. They go to school at 10, 11, 12 years old. They're pretty much bigger kids who wants to play, and so they integrated much better. So I don't have much trouble there.
Okay, just give me a moment. Let me try to hold Ledakat here because I remember that issue when I actually first came to Singapore is because it was really intimidating, and I was 2 years older than most of my peers at that time. So, in a sense, you have your confidence, but at the same time, you are unsure of where you are because, well, I was a preteen when I first came to Singapore, and most of my peers are not yet at that age, and you are like, okay, I'm bigger than most of them, but I don't feel any different. In fact, I actually feel intimidated by that. So this is something really interesting to hear of because it's your approach in a sense really gave them a certain kind of structure. And at the age of 27, even I have difficulty talking to my parents, and your kids know that they are empowered enough to be able to talk about it to you. And I saw your oldest son's result. Congratulations, he did very well for his PSLE, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. So we're waiting on results on the school he gets in. So I hope he gets into the top 10 in the country because he's just a very academic focused boy. So I want to make sure the environment is right for him.
All right, all right. Yeah, and if I recall correctly, I actually love following your posts, especially when it's concerned about your kids. Because first off is that, well, they are not knowing it yet, but they are members of the TCK community. So of course, I love to see how their progress is doing, and it's really unique that you actually know your kids well enough at their young age. I believe you mentioned your two boys are academically inclined, but your girl is more artistically inclined. I saw her YouTube videos. She's really 10 years old.
Yes,
That is fantastic.
herself. So she learned everything herself. So
Ah,
I think the resourcefulness is what inspires me, not about the quality of work, because it takes years for practice, right?
yeah.
But they're being resourceful. I mean, I'm surprised myself.
It took me 2 months to actually learn video editing, that, and I still am not done it well. And she can create in animation. So Kudos to her. Kudos to her. I
So that's
really am.
not just because people think it's just animation, but you must remember that she has a storyline. She writes a dialogue, so she records voiceover. She does animation. She adjusts the coloring. She instills humor, and then she edits it, including the intro and the outro, and then she publishes it. So it's a whole process. As she writes scripts and everything, and sometimes the ideas are really creative.
At 10 years old. Good God.
And then
Oh my goodness. Okay. Huh. All
you
right.
can
If
tell.
anybody is interested to learn animation, please ask Lisa's daughter. That's yeah. How do you think your way your upbringing has actually empowered them to actually pursue something that is different? Do you think that their global background is one thing, or maybe is well? I mean, it has to be nurtured, right? So, what do you think though in your style of parenting or in their upbringing has actually allowed them to do this?
Okay, so firstly, right, I think they develop a lot because of their mother's mindset. Okay, because typical Asian, we always talk about, oh,
Yeah.
score good grades. Okay, you must score an A or B. So it's all about academic, getting a good job, high salary, and stuff like that. But for me, especially before I had children, I was already married to a foreigner, and so in my work line as well. So I'm always exposed to different cultures, and I realized that people brought up in Europe or in Australia, they have a different set of thinking. It was never 100% academic. So, and then I realized that they're also happier people because they are not forced to grow in an area they're not good at. So when I raise my children, what most important to me is about helping them discover themselves, whether they're academic focused or they're not. Maybe they're not. Like my daughter is into acting. So I know by the time she finishes her standard school, she's going to pursue in the line of creativity, speech, drama, acting. That is the way she's going to go. And I respect that and I help to create the right environment for it. So for my boys, example, they don't have any specific talent. They don't act, they don't do any creative stuff, but they're into maths, they're into science. So you know that these boys are going to the path of academic. So it's not like, okay, now I have to pressure my girl to follow my boys because it doesn't matter. Once for me as a parent, I identify what makes my children happy, what they're passionate about, and how I can help them hone up their competency. So just to make sure that they get better in the things they're already good at. There's no point penalizing them for their mistakes or for the things their weakness. So best to focus on their strength so that they become very good in something they do. And that's how they're going to get handsomely paid in the future because people always pay for expertise, and competency. So yeah, so that's what I feel. If any of my kids love sports, like skiing or snowboarding, I definitely would put them in that capacity as well and forget about academics so much.
Wow. Please, everyone, give this amazing mom a round of applause.
Academic is
That's
not everything. That's why I always tell moms, academic is not everything.
okay. Um, I have too many compliments to give right now, but I don't. Let's give that for another time because if not, I will lose my broadcast time. But that's really amazing. Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. With regards to this, yeah. Okay. How do you feel though handling your household is equal to running your business? I've heard of the phrase before, like a kingdom is the reflection of your family life. So if let's say your family life is sadly is in disarray, of course your kingdom is gonna be a disarray. So how have you managed this on managing both of them? Because for one thing is that you are running a remote company, right? So how do you think that managing your household is the same as running your company?
I think it's very closely related. Actually, right, 2 years ago, Calvin, I did a TEDx talk.
Yeah.
And my TEDx talk was how becoming a mother prepared me to be a CEO. So, I was a mother first for at least 5 to 7 years before I actually ran my own business. So motherhood came first in my life. And a lot of things that I learned as being a mother, managing a household, handling children, is very closely correlated to how I run a company, a business. There's no really segregation. What you are at work is exactly what you are at home. If you're a thoughtful person, an honest person, a polite person at home, you most likely will be like that at work. Okay, and what you are at work, for example, is exactly what you are at home as well. So there's no difference. So whatever you practice for the best of your children, okay, for the household, for the upbringing of your kids, You just need to carry those attributes over. So, for example, right, having children, I realized that even though three of my kids are brought up in the same household, the same parents, okay, at the end of the day, they're still three different people. They're passionate about three different things. They have a different pathway of life, and they see things from different perspective. So same thing when I go to work, right? When I handle different people in my company, some of my staff are from India, some from Bangladesh, some from Singapore. You know that based on their cultural background, they have differences with you. But instead of making them to think like you, how can you accommodate to them so that you can still have them succeed in the areas they are already potentially good at? So my children, even though I parent them, some parts the same, but I know individually they're different people. So leadership is not a one size fit all. So leadership can be different based on the different level of people, what they're for, and their background and culture as well. So I understand that from my children, the way I raise my three kids is the same thing as I manage people at work, not expecting everybody to deliver the same or be the same. You just have to try to accommodate to them. Secondly, as well, having multiple children in a household, right? When you have many kids, you need structure, you need process to get things done. Okay, when the clothes are washed, this is what's going to happen. You're going to fold here, you're going to put it here. Because structure keeps a household together. Imagine if you have 4 or 5 kids and you don't have a culture, a structure. Kids are jumping around, there's no rule, there's no discipline. So coming to work as well, right? If you want to give your best to your client, you want to train your people to follow standard procedures so that you can deliver the best to your client, you need to create structure and then you need to implement it. Now at home, I always implement structure by keeping it simple because kids, right? The
Yep.
simpler you give them, 1, 2, 3, 4, they follow. But if you create a 15-page SOP, no kid will follow, right? They're like, sorry, this is I can't remember. So at work, it's the same thing as well. So Calvin, whenever I have a structure, okay, to make better a user experience, to train my people, to create a culture in my workspace, I make sure that the structure is easy to understand. Keep it simple. Because when it's simple, people remember. And when people remember, they will practice. And then once they practice, it becomes a habit. So everybody knows what to do at work because the structure is easy to follow. So we're not treating kids at work we're not treating people at work like kids, but we're actually showing them that things could be done simpler. And it's good because everything else in the office becomes simpler. When it's simple, everybody knows what to do anyway. So those are just the two things that I share with implementing structures at home because mothers always do that to keep households together. And secondly, knowing that you have multiple children, even if they're in the same environment at home, they still do not perform the same. So they have different skills, different weakness, different strength, and therefore leadership is not one template that fits all. So you need to customize where possible to lead people better.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That is something that's very informative. The thing is, I think, especially let's say when we compare it to a previous generation, it's a lot. In the past, micromanaging was a trend, and I don't believe that micromanaging has immediately gone away because I do see that there is a need for it. Like for example, in an industry whereby life is at stake, like in the military or in the hospital or even in food and beverage, it's because those areas is concerning life. However, for them, they have shift interval hours, so it allows them to bond outside of their work, to tell them, hey guys, it's not that I'm being pushy to you guys. It's not that I don't understand your feelings, but in during operation, I need you guys to follow what I say. It's because this is where our reputation is at, life is at stake. So this style of management that you have implemented, I think it is something that should be applied, especially to accommodate different kinds of what mindset and different generational approach. So do you have anything that maybe in a sense, if it's not standardized, but maybe an example of some of your guidelines? Like for example, you mentioned some of the some of the companies that you work for in Australia, or let's say maybe two of your partners. Maybe one of them is in Australia and one of them is in Germany. One thing that I know about a German is that sometimes they don't have a filter. Is that if they say you are wrong, they will highlight that you are wrong. And an Australian can be quite relaxed in their approach. So sometimes it becomes a cultural clash. So how have you actually managed this?
So the way I manage my people is we don't measure by time, we measure by performance. So
Okay.
basically, at the early of the week, we have set ourselves for every department what we need to achieve by the end of the week. How they actually do it, it doesn't really matter to me, because at the end of the day, it allows them, without telling them what to do sometimes, allow them to become more resourceful when they find out how things are done, and they become more creative at doing things faster and more effectively. If you tell them what to do, they only follow your way, but you never know. They come with a level of expertise, right? We hire smart people not for us to tell them what to do, for them to tell us how it's going to be done. So if you hire those kind of people in your team, you need to give them room to breathe, where they can exercise their expertise and experience, but still making sure that they achieve the objective we want to achieve as a company, part of our corporate goal. So when you focus on the end objective instead of the process of every single thing that happens in between, people actually A, more happy with their job. Number B, they feel more belong and they feel more included because they feel that their value, is appreciated and acknowledged by the management. And thirdly, if they finish the objective earlier, it is their every right to spend the other half of Friday doing whatever they like for happy hour. So it's just about being effective. So for me, it's not like, typical Asian in the past, or even some right now, is, the boss sometimes watch the employees like a hawk. You are watching them every day, sending reports every hour, because people want to know where you go. How come you go for a meeting 2 hours? Where exactly? What's your objective? But you must understand in business, right? Even let's say your client, your employees, okay, Calvin, they go out for 5 meetings a week. Of course, you can never close a deal sometimes after one meeting. So it's very
Yeah.
hard to explain that,
Or even
okay,
months.
yeah, I went out for these 5 meetings, but we have not made money yet. And you cannot hold it against the employee, because relationship takes time to foster. So it is an investment that it happened. But last time, people, when I first started work at 18 as a sales executive, my boss always asked me, so you meet these 5 people, what kind of deals did we close this week? And I want to tell them we can't close deals meeting people once the first time. These probably have to go on for like 2 months, and some of them will close faster in between, and some of them will close much later, and some of them might not even close. But that's what sales is about. But those that we close will give us very good revenue anyway to cover up all the resources we have spent in meeting all these people. So now I give them that flexibility. Obviously, that's why I don't really track my staff when they work, because remotely you can never track. This is a different time zone. So
Yeah.
India not gone a couple of hours later, Europe another couple of hours later. So Australia is a different story. So at the end of the day, you just have a Trello, which is a free app. You put out all the things you want to accomplish. If you need, you have a half an hour call. And then on Friday, you check the Trello board again to see what has been achieved. In between, if they have problems, they'll let you know via text messages. And that's about it. And believe it or not, my remote employees, right? I never had a phone call with them. I never hear their voice before. So we hire based on email, and they work for us for 2 years. And everything we want done, we just share on WhatsApp or on Trello. So I don't even need to spend half an hour and waste somebody else's time talking about something. I believe that anything you want to tell your employee, it's always best to get it documented, which is why I prefer texting, emailing, or on Trello board. So instead of when you talk to somebody for an hour, they never capture everything you said in that hour anyway. So in the end, it becomes less fruitful. So, but that's how I manage my employees.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That is really that is a good that in a sense is a good standard gauging, I guess, is because yeah, personally to me, I don't like it when I have to call people. I think this is not only something that I experience, and I think this is something that those within my generation, those who are born in the 90s afterwards, and after they do not like it to be hop around for one thing, like as you mentioned. And yeah, it's I kind of noticed this as in Indonesia here, there's still a need for them to adhere to a certain custom, and phone calls is something that is always instilled to people is that they want a quick immediate results, and they believe that by using phone call is actually the fastest way to get it. So okay, this is something that is worth noting for companies that wants to expand, and especially those who now want to implement a remote or working lifestyle. For one thing is that I think now it became a necessity is because of the recent pandemic. For one thing is that we can't even be outside. So the need to adapt to the style that you have implemented is a good template for it. Okay. Uh, whenever okay, the thing is this. when people talk about entrepreneurship in the past, there is always a negative connotation to it, I guess. I've never really understood why, but I guess it's because different customs have a different approach to it. Do you mind telling us about the reality of it? From, I mean, you don't have to start how you start until now, but maybe the difficulty and challenges that you have faced. And just to add on, I was actually one of the MC at Indonesia Startup event. Indonesia Startup Insight. However, I don't get to be the panelist for yours, and one of our very own some of our mutual contacts. I was wondering why too. So one of your area at the time you were talking about women empowerment. Yeah, I think I managed to post the question though. So, have you ever encountered such setbacks though, when as a woman, as a mom, when you first started out doing this?
So before we talk about gender, entrepreneurship itself, the reality is really, really hard. Okay, and the reason why entrepreneur is difficult because number one, you're always competing in a saturated market. Even if you have a simple business idea like
Yeah,
selling a product that you think is good, the market is saturated with more businesses operating right now during the pandemic and in the world of social media. So you always constantly have to be on your toes to stay ahead of your competitors by implementing more creative campaigns, by investing in social media marketing, by being an influencer, building up your personal brand, for example. So the investment to do business becomes more time labor and sometimes even monetary wise can be heavily invested. But there's also entrepreneurs that is on another level. That means they want to build something so impactful, highly scalable, and requires penetration in global markets. So entrepreneurs like myself, we're building community-based businesses, which means we're handling hundreds of people's demands and inquiries. And at the same time, we're also trying to raise capital funding to build the next level of business. So we're growing highly scalable companies. And that pressure it is another level than entrepreneurs running on a lower scale. But then there's also come into the question, of course, you being a mother and a woman. So obviously
yeah,
running a business, okay, that although there's a lot more women-led businesses today, and there's also a lot more mothers-led businesses today, but that doesn't spare us with some stereotype that people have. Obviously, when people want to consider major investment on a business led by a woman, the question is always the time commitment. It's not so much of intelligence because women can be as
yeah,
intelligent as men if they
of
come from
course.
university. But knowing that women always have a soft spot for family and for children, okay, compared to men, sometimes the perception is whether a woman will drop everything at work, okay, despite heavily being invested in, and to leave to manage her household. So I do have, I think, come across this kind of issue sometimes because people are not confident that I will be able to deliver. But this is a couple of years ago, and I realized that sometimes people, for women, sometimes we have to go beyond to prove ourselves, which is really not fair in certain ways. So I had to prove people by doing my personal brand that I'm an award-winning CEO. So I did a major achievements just for other people to be convinced that I can achieve much more than another person of a different gender. And but when you get there and people take a chance on you, people realize, oh my God, she's actually did a good job. So I was wrong about her stereotype all along. It's always nice to kill stereotypes of people. Then they realize and they change for themselves. Oh, then I should be giving opportunities to more women who can create an impact. I'm not saying that women still don't care about family despite running a business. They do, which is true. It's just our maternal instinct. But do not underestimate the capability of a woman building a support structure to make sure that she can run her business at the same time taking care of her family. And woman has got smarter, more creative, and more determined to make the structure work so that she can balance both the realms of motherhood as well as business. So that doesn't mean that just a woman, possibly taking the day off because her child is sick. Maybe that woman compensate with her Sunday when the child is healthy and she can come back to the office and finish off where she left off. And as for myself, right, taking in consideration that my children may need me on certain days, like they're sick or they're not well. So I like to do things in leave something this week, okay, I will try to go beyond so that I'm always ahead when the next week starts. So in case my child needs me for 2 days, I'm already okay. I'm not behind. I'm okay. So that's how I really plan my time to make sure that I'm still there for my kids. So I always do beyond for my work. So I'm always ahead in case I need to take impromptu day off. So I just think that people should be more sensible to working moms not to underestimate their capability to manage things. It's true, they manage things very differently than men. But women are talented multitaskers. Okay, so we can think multiple things at the same
Yeah,
time.
we guys can do that. We guys can do that.
Yes, so women, and that is a skill and attribute of women we should be celebrating. So that. So the reality is harsh, but if you keep going, you might find some people along the way who believe in you as a gender you are, and that is enough to have just a few people who really believe in you. They will invest in you, support your business, and even though other people don't think you're good enough, these people will continue to think that you are. So focus on those people that support you.
Do you believe though that actually putting your family first above the business is actually a pros instead of a cons? And here's the thing: this is something that I notice in a lot in social media, and it's in fact taught to me by one of my past guests. Is that social media enhance whatever feeling that you have. If let's say you have the direct intention of creating a content solely for the purpose of profit, people can in a sense smell what you are doing. For your case, if let's say you for your case you put your children, your family as your main inspiration, right, to provide for them, do you think that this has actually served as a pros, as a benefit instead, as it actually allows you to create a genuine content, or in fact in terms of productivity you are a lot more motivated because at the end of the day you know that this is at the end of the day this is for them.
Well, I believe so that you said earlier, but because all of us are actually, even though we have different jobs, we may be in different industries, we're raised differently, we have different culture, but at the end of the day, we have the same thing. We have the same love for family. That's what we all have. We have the same love for family, which means we're here to protect them, to keep them safe, and we work hard so that we can give our children, our spouse, a better life. So when you talk about family values, okay, people resonate with you very quickly. People find it highly relatable. And then people will put themselves in the same spot as you are because they know the experience of seeing your child graduate, seeing your wife, pursue a degree, seeing your mother recover from a sickness. People feel the same empathy. People think, okay, if my mother were to be sick as well, I feel exactly how she feels. And it keeps people human, which is what people like. What business does is just keeping people profitable. But at some point, we are all human. So every time we get triggered by our emotions, our emotions get triggered by a relatable story somebody share, we light up. We become in a very good mood, and we realize that, hey, I want to work with this person because this person can relate to us. Then if you talk about just your business, Calvin, your business and my business may not be entirely the same. So we may never work in synergy. But if we are correlated in common ground in family values, there will be something we find just to work with each other. So that's what I find as a good relations, okay, that people can find common ground, especially using social media. And it's the same thing, right? If somebody comes to me and said, Leza, can I have $50? I'll go, no. But if somebody tells me, Leza, my family, my child needs a diaper, and my family's been hard, my husband lost a job, if you can spare $50, I will definitely give because that story resonates with me. At some point, I was also in that kind of trouble. I was also not having enough money, and I understand the predicament, which is why I would give $50 as a donation because I want that person to get their problem solved, okay, which will make them easier for them. So that's what I personally feel about social media. If you're all out with just profitable, it's commercial advertising. So if you keep on commercial advertising, nobody people like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. Okay, so if you're gonna appear at my door telling me that you have the best skincare ever, I'm like, no thanks, But if I read on social media about somebody using a skincare that helped to get rid of pimples, and I'm having pimples now, so I would definitely want to buy because that story is just more convincing. So digital storytelling, especially in the world of social media, has taken our marketing level to the next level, and we have to embrace that skill because we are all natural storytellers, Calvin. We grow up with kids, we talk to our friends, we gossip with our best friends, we talk to our mothers what happened in our day to day. We are already natural storytellers. The only thing now is to write it nicely in a digital medium, on a digital format, for digital communities. That's all the difference. It's not as if we never tell stories in our lives before. We have been telling stories physically for every time. So, and that's how friendship is built when there is trust, when there is common ground, and there's high relatable, sense between two people.
All right. Just to extend a bit on your area that you mentioned on relationship, I actually one of the very you might not know it or you may not remember it, but there was one lesson of yours that I applied to this very that I still remember until to this very day. And that is that in this day and age you need collaboration, not competition. So in terms of that though, how can people actually transcend it? It's because not only between friends, even families who are in a business together, there's definitely a lot of arguments. And well, when money is concerned, people are a lot less sensitive to it. And well, oh sorry, people are a lot more sensitive to it. So there's definitely going to be a lot of butt hitting and argument, right? So how can you actually transcend that kind of relationship from just a strong friendship to actually become to a successful business partnership? And if let's say maybe it does not work well in the future, well, how can you actually still maintain that? Okay, this is nothing personal between us.
Okay, so before we talk about family, working together in
Yep.
family, talking about more collaboration as a new currency, the reason is because all of us have a certain value, and that value is actually the size of our social media network. So all of us has a network because all of us have social media accounts. So I might have $10 in my bank, you might have $1,000 in your bank, but it doesn't matter because when we collaborating, we're sharing what we have, which is our open
Correct.
network. So that's why collaboration is the key to success because you want to increase your brand awareness, you want to be exposed to more target audience, then you need to collaborate so you appear in multiple other networks. And so do they. They also want to tap on your network so they have a chance to appear and boost their brand awareness in your society network as well. So for me, collaboration is cheaper, it's simpler, and it's easier. To collaborate with someone, you don't need to, do an event launch and invite them in a five-star dining. Okay, you just have to text them on social media. Hey, I think we have some synergy. I have this number of followers. Is it okay if we do a joint, campaign together? It's so simple. It's
Oh, you can
cheaper.
do something like this. You can do something that what I do.
Yeah, something like this. So we collaborate in terms of network, but we also build friendship along the way because we
Correct.
spend this 1 hour together, and that's how you can also do more things together in the future. Okay, and it's about building trust as well. So collaboration to me, right, as long as you have a social media network, you have something to offer to collaborate. That means just find somebody who will appreciate your network and you appreciate theirs and join into a win-win synergy and you definitely achieve and do something. So those kind of synergy are usually short term, okay, Calvin? So you work with people for collaboration over a month, maybe a week, and you end there. But when you talk about collaborating with family,
Yeah.
best friends, and then you integrating them into business. Now I know for many years, okay, even when I was growing up, okay, people always say, no, 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 never mix family with business, never hire your, brother, sister,
Yeah.
or whatever. But to be honest, right, after these last few years, when our company getting connected with more family offices, especially in Indonesia, okay, we also some of our investors are family offices. We realize that they are successful because a family works together. Okay,
Yeah.
that's exactly how family offices work. Their brother is in charge of this company, their sister is in charge of this investment, and together they form a dynasty, an empire that is bigger than a company run by a solopreneur. Okay, so family actually, to me, okay, my belief now has changed. I believe that if you have a friendship existing, if you have a family bond, you can actually be more successful. Why? Because family knows you for a long time, which means even in your absence, they act on your interest because they know what you would say, what are the things you would think, because they know you far too well, okay, and far too deep and far too long. So they know that, okay, this is something Lisa might not like. Let's put a hold on it and let me talk to her and confirm. Don't go ahead until I tell you so, because knowing Lisa, I don't think she likes it. And that's how family should behave, looking out for each other, because and knowing somebody personally is not supposed to be something we use against them. It's not supposed to backfire. Nobody likes their personal information to backfire against them. But we should use it to our advantage by protecting more of our family members so that we can, be included for business growth. But I know the challenges that happen. So this is my recommendation if you decide to recruit a family member. Firstly, before you enter a venture together, you have to be brutally honest. That means if you think that your brother is not capable of running this entire department, you start him from down below with the interest of grooming him up. And you tell him straight, hey, you're only 22. Now, to lead this department of marketing, I cannot put you as director. But I'm going to give you 2 years benefit of the doubt. You're going to try your best, climb up from executive level. will monitor results, and I can guarantee you, if you perform well, this director position will be open when time is due. So when you tell people very brutally honest, then people go, okay, I know that if I work hard, I learn in this department, in 2 years, I can get the director position. And by the time he gets into the director position, honestly, it's not a gift. He earned it. He spent 3 years building. So for me, be very, very brutally honest. Okay? That is one of the things. And if you feel that somebody doesn't perform well and you go like, shit, I regret putting this person in charge of this project. Now, before you cut them off completely, and that's how a relationship gets sour, right?
Yeah.
You're no longer my business. Goodbye. This is your last paycheck. So before that happens, you want to have a conversation with this person and ask him about his aspiration. Trust me, if somebody doesn't do well in her job, it's because sometimes, not because they're not passionate, but because they are in the wrong field. They're in the wrong spot. Your job as a founder of the business is to identify that you have misplaced them in the wrong place and you're going to allocate them in the proper place. So you have a conversation with them. They will tell you, oh, sorry, I didn't do well because accounting is not my forte. I don't know why I'm doing this. I tried my best, but it's not good. And when you have that conversation, you realize, okay, you know what? You are actually good in strategic partnership. You love talking to people. I realize that I'm going to move you over. And the problem gets solved because now somebody is going to thrive in a position that fits them. You're going to win as a company, and you're just going to get somebody to replace the right expert for the job that she was previously in. So being brutally honest along the way from the beginning is very, very important. Now, certain things you don't want to tell your family members because it's not important. Just for example, your family member joins at director level and below. There's a lot of things about the company at higher management level doesn't need to tell. Your company evaluation work, your last capital funding, your investors, these are information that can still be kept private. Don't think that when you include your family members, you have to have a family meeting and tell everybody everything. Okay, some things as a founder you still keep to yourself so that because that's how you plan your company without anybody jeopardizing or being negative about it. Okay, for those people, they just need to know what they need to perform in their business. So you don't overwhelm them with information they don't need to learn to understand at the moment. So you keep them in their lane and you keep them motivated in their lane, which is enough. You as an overall founder will see the overall picture of how you want your company. So that's my recommendation. And if I can, in time, I would love to see my children being in business with me, but it's not something I expect if they don't want to. But if they do, it would be amazing. Imagine, Calvin, you have a business, okay, and your son is a lawyer, your other child is an accountant, and your children will protect your assets way more than other people because they've seen their mother or their father struggle to build the empire. Your job as second generation is to take the business to a whole new level. Okay, so that's how I see family offices go, and I really admire how they keep it together. And every single one in the family offices, their uncle, their aunt, and everybody's rich because they work together and they can only get richer. And I've seen so much in Indonesian family offices, and that's how they can preserve their wealth for many years to come. So that's an amazing step to follow.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, experiencing that now as my father's PA, IT, driver. What else? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm experiencing that now, so don't worry. I'm experiencing it now. All right then. Okay, since the main priority is on Lisa's insight as compared to what I am experiencing in Indonesia, we will now just jump into the final question. Okay, so what do you hope though for your legacy as a mom or as of three cross-cultural kids or as an entrepreneur? What do you hope to for if it's not only for your kids, maybe for those who are now training under your wings or those who are now working under you, what do you hope to accomplish eventually?
So I am educated at heart. So actually, to be honest, right, Calvin, business doesn't mean as much to me as being able to educate people what I know. Because when we grow, when we learn, we grow, and it's so nice to take other people along with us and grow with us by the lessons we share. These are the value you actually leave a permanent impact in somebody else's life. Imagine the things I share today. Somebody, take it, tweak it, and put it, strategize it into their business, and go on to become a millionaire in 2 years. And these are the impact that is more long term education because nobody really cares at the end of the day how much you have in your bank. They're not going to get it anyway, or how big your property is. So at the end of the day, my legacy is about leaving as many nuggets of wisdom, education, lessons, and values through YouTube videos, through interviews like this, through postings on social media, as much as I can while I'm still living, and so that other people who capture bits and pieces of what I share can have an impact in their personal life. And whatever they achieve doesn't have to pay back anything to me for my wisdom, but for the genuine, selfless act of just wanting to see people succeed. So if they struggle, for example, they're a mother starting a business, and they follow you as an idol because they see, oh, okay, this mom can do it, raising three children, homeschooling kids, and still build businesses. There's no way I can't. And that is a very powerful, inspirational message that I want to leave behind while I'm still alive, doing more than just exist. In terms of my children as well, right? The legacy I want to leave behind is that I know my children is going to grow up to be adults, and they're going to go through many things in life, like you and I do. And one day, life is going to beat them down. They're going to have a low day. They're going to suffer failure. They're going to go through heartbreak. But I want my children to understand that whether I'm alive or I'm gone, all this legacy that I left behind with my YouTube, my videos, or the things that I achieved while I was still alive, is something that my children look up as a benchmark. If my mother is able to go through divorce, they raise three children single-handedly, build a business, create that money jobs, there's so many things I can do and I don't have to be upset. If they chase their dreams and they fail, they always see that, oh, my mom persevered and still achieved, so therefore I can also do the same. So I want to be the epitome of strength for my children to always look up to. I always tell people, right, as a mother, you are their first teacher. So you have the chance to be their best teacher because you have the most time educating them. The teacher that come in their life sits for a year or two before they change a teacher, but their mother is a permanent figure for at least the first 18 years of their life. So I want to do much more than that. I don't want. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell my children my job for a very long time until they found out themselves because they came across my TEDx video 2 years ago. So my kids
Wow.
always think that my mommy have a normal job. She goes to work, she comes back. So they have no idea, that moms runs a company or create jobs or have awards, speak at stages, educate universities until they find out themselves. And which is good because by the time they find out they're their age or older, so they realized that my mom did so many amazing things, but never told us, never bragged to us, never tell us we need to achieve this size company or whatever. Our mom just keeps us telling us to be a good person, to contribute to society and just to not do crimes. And that's how my children, I think they admire me because of the humility that I practice. And I hope that they will also become like that when they grow up. Children will never be what you tell them anyway. They will only be what you are. So it's always having children just makes me think every day, when I want to do something, is this the right thing for me to do? Is this something my children will follow? Is this something that I want to leave behind for my children to learn? So I always second question myself in the way I behave, the way I say things, the way I handle things, because I have three children in mind. So indirectly, it's not just me educating them. To be honest, motherhood, having kids, I think my children educates me more. So that's my legacy.
Okay, that's beautifully said. I think the thing is that the reality of adulthood, we discover more of who our parents actually are. Is like we realize is, well, when we were younger, as a man, for example, I will see my father as a Superman as when I was a kid. But as you grow older, you realize that they have their own flaws, that they have their own issues, they have their own success that you've never expected. That is something that was part of them. So I think, and well, you actually have the the proof directly in concept from YouTube videos or even any other of your other platform or even TEDx videos. So I really hope that your kids also grow up being able to understand what you have done for them. All right,
Exactly.
so that's actually my last question. So let's just give a little shout out to some of those who live a like. So first and then okay. So the first one is definitely somebody who actually let me know who Lisa is, and that is Rayson. Yeah, he's here. Everybody. All right. So along with yeah, our dear Rayson Chu. Bro, are you commenting? Okay, never mind. All right. Along with that is Ben. Thanks so much for coming, buddy. Miss Sindel Taylor, Miss Salinda Saleh. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Miss Ming Ming Allison Lim. How are you? And Miss Regina Wanling. Hope every one of you are doing well. And definitely not to forget our very own Miss Joycelyn Go. Good. All right. So Lisa, is there anything else you want to add on?
No, I just want to say all the best. I just want to end off with a message because 2020 has been a very difficult year for business, professional, and personal lives. And every one of us are directly or indirectly impacted, big or small, because of the COVID. I know our life is at a standstill, and some of us has gone beyond to stay creative, to stay in business, to continue to feed our family the best way possible. I just hope that 2020 coming to an end, nobody knows for certain what will happen in 2021, but let's keep our heads held up high, be positive, and always get support, which is important because during this time of isolation, less interaction, people can get affected mentally, and I didn't want that to happen, especially looking at a lot of cases of depression. So just make sure that you're surrounded by people you love, doing the things you love, even though you didn't have much to spend this year. But whatever it is, and find opportunities to create memories during this time. We might never go through a pandemic again in our lifetime, but at least while we go through this time, we'll try to make the full use of it.
And hopefully we don't go through another pandemic again.
Oh, hopefully
Hopefully.
not.
Okay. Yeah. So for there's also an Airbnb travel credit for you guys. I know you guys cannot travel yet, but let's say it's something that you guys can save up for the future. And if you are interested to try out something like what I'm doing, there's a StreamYard credit located on the description box. Along with that, I've also attached Lisa's some of the social link that you can reach out to read Lisa's. And just to add on a bonus, I actually attached Lisa's daughter Ilana's YouTube page there. So for you guys to check out, please do check it out also. As somebody who creates this, I'm very amazed that a 10-year-old can create that. So guys, if there's anything, please leave the comment, or if not, you guys can reach out to Lisa. All of her links is already there. And with that, do take care of yourself, everyone, and have a good day. Bye bye.